The ticking clock in Charlotte has never sounded this loud, and for those of us who live and breathe Panthers football, the silence from the front office is deafening. We have waited through the lean years, holding on to hope, while the roster was torn down and slowly rebuilt piece by piece. Now, after this latest draft, the atmosphere inside the building has shifted from patience to high-stakes expectation. It is a turning point that defines careers, and we are standing right on the edge of the cliff. Bryce Young is the name on everyone's lips because the grace period has officially expired in the eyes of the decision-makers. General Manager Dan Morgan has spent the last 3 off-seasons working tirelessly to fix the mistakes of the previous regime, and his latest moves in the 2026 draft send a clear message. While some fans were scratching their heads when the team passed on flashy offensive weapons like Mekhi Lemon or Eli Stowers, the strategy behind the scenes is much more calculated. Morgan focused on the foundation, bringing in guys like Sam Hecht and Monroe Freeling to fix the protection. If these two can secure starting jobs as rookies, the line in front of the quarterback becomes a wall instead of a sieve. But the real story is how the other side of the ball has been transformed into a powerhouse. The defense looks the best it has in years, especially with the addition of Jalen Phillips, who gives this team a terrifying edge rusher. Every single position group has seen a massive upgrade. The secondary is bolstered by Zakee Wheatley, while the linebacker room is suddenly elite with Devin Lloyd and the hard-hitting Jackson Kuwach. Even the interior defensive line got stronger with Lee Hunter. You see, the front office is removing every possible excuse for failure. They have provided a solid wide receiver trio of Tedoroa McMillan, Jalen Coker, and Chris Brazzell to ensure there are targets available on every play. The ground game is poised for a resurgence as well, assuming Jonathan Brooks stays healthy and Chuba Hubbard can find that magic form he showed back in 2024. Dan Morgan has essentially handed over a complete car and told the driver it is time to perform. We are no longer talking about a rebuilding phase or a developmental year. This is a veteran-heavy, talent-rich environment where the expectations are to compete right now. The roster is in the best shape we have seen in nearly a decade, and that puts a massive amount of weight on the shoulders of the former first overall pick. It is a bold, risky strategy that leaves no room for error as we head into a season that will define the future. The pressure of being a top draft pick is something few can truly understand, but this young quarterback is about to feel the full weight of it this fall. He has spent his entire professional career trying to stay upright behind shaky offensive lines and throwing to receivers who struggled to create any separation. For years, the faithful fans in the stands have defended him, pointing out that no one could succeed under those dire circumstances. But the narrative has shifted because the supporting cast is no longer the weak link. This gifted athlete now has the protection he needs, and a defense that can actually get the ball back for the offense. When the defensive unit is generating stops and creating better field position, it changes the way a signal caller approaches the game. He won't feel the need to hero ball or force dangerous throws because the margin for error has widened. This talented prospect has shown flashes of brilliance in much worse conditions, especially during his collegiate days when he seemed to move with a calm intensity that confused defenders. The team is betting that those traits will finally flourish now that the environment is stable. We are looking at a situation where the locker room expects results because they see the talent surrounding the huddle every day. If the running game can keep the chains moving, it takes the burden off the passing attack and allows for more creative play calling. The prospect of having a top 10 defense on the other side of the ball is the greatest gift any quarterback could receive. It means he doesn't have to score 30 points a game just to stay competitive. However, this also means the eyes of the league are watching to see if he can finally lead this franchise back to relevance. There are no more what-ifs or maybe next years left in the building. The organization quietly picked up his fifth-year option, but that move came with an invisible asterisk. It was a vote of confidence wrapped in a challenge. The time for development is over, and the era of production must begin if he wants to remain the face of the team. Every Sunday is going to feel like a final exam because the consequences of this season are incredibly simple for our beloved franchise. This isn't about complex salary cap numbers or 5-year plans anymore. It is about winning games and proving that the foundation is solid. If the team starts winning, everything changes in an instant. The fans will recapture that electric energy we haven't felt in years, and the city will rally behind a winner. A successful season means we finally have our franchise leader locked in, and we can stop worrying about the most important position in sports. It would mean the draft picks were right, the coaching is working, and the dark days are finally in the rearview mirror. But we have to be honest about the other side of that coin because the risk of failure is just as high. If the offense continues to sputter despite having better players, it sends a signal that a much bigger change might be necessary. Failure could lead to another total reset, which is something none of us want to sit through again. We want to see our team competing in the playoffs and challenging our division rivals every single week. The impact on the locker room would be massive if they can't find a rhythm early on. Players like Derek Brown and J.C. Horn are in their prime, and they want to be part of a winning culture before their best years are behind them. A winning season justifies every trade and every draft pick Dan Morgan has made since taking over the reins. It would prove that the patience of the fan base was actually rewarded. On the other hand, a losing season would leave the organization in a very difficult spot regarding the future of the quarterback position. The stakes are simply too high for anything in between. We are looking for progress that shows up in the win column, not just in the box score. This season is the ultimate litmus test for the direction of the Panthers, and every single snap will carry the weight of those expectations. It is a simple equation of performance and results that will dictate our happiness. The path ahead for our team is split into two very different realities, and the tension is building with every passing day of the offseason. In the best-case scenario, the new offensive line recruits mesh perfectly and give the quarterback all day to find his talented wide receivers. We could see a high-powered offense that balances a strong running game with explosive plays down the field. Imagine a defense that stays fresh because the offense is sustaining long drives and keeping the clock moving. In this world, our team becomes a surprise contender in the NFC, catching everyone off guard with a complete and balanced roster. The energy at the stadium would be incredible, and we would finally feel that sense of pride that comes with being a dangerous opponent. But we also have to consider the worst-case scenario where things don't click as expected. If the new protection fails to hold up or the receivers can't find their rhythm, the frustration will boil over very quickly. We could see a stagnant offense that wastes the efforts of a truly elite defensive unit. That is a heartbreaking situation for any fan to watch, as it feels like the team is fighting against itself. The emotional tension comes from knowing that the talent is finally there, but the execution remains a question mark. If it fails, the calls for a new direction will become a deafening roar that the front office won't be able to ignore. The short sentences of the play clock ticking down will feel like a heartbeat for the entire city. Every third down conversion will feel like a season-defining moment. We are all holding our breath because we know how close this team is to being great, but we also know how easily it could all slip away. The difference between a home playoff game and a high draft pick has never felt this thin. It creates a sense of urgency that permeates every conversation about the team. We are either on the verge of a glorious new era or another painful chapter of missed opportunities. The contrast between these two paths is what makes this upcoming season the most anticipated one in a very long time. The situation in Carolina has reached a boiling point where excuses are no longer accepted and results are the only currency that matters. We have a roster that is finally built to compete, a defense that looks dominant on paper, and an offensive line that has been heavily invested in. The dilemma is clear for everyone watching. Is the man under center the one who can take this talented group to the next level? We have seen the flashes of talent, but now we need to see the consistency that wins championships. Be honest with yourself as a fan who has seen the highs and lows of this franchise. Would you trust this current setup to lead us back to the Super Bowl, or do you still have lingering doubts about the future? This is the moment where we find out what this team is truly made of. If you love the Panthers and want to stay updated on every single move this season, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an insider update as we navigate this together.